Hey everyone, I'm Mike, and I'm here with Isaac,
Hey,
and we're here to talk about Nvidia's recent announcement regarding DLSS 5, which is supposed to basically be a new AI powered way of making your games look better. Um, okay, that's a lot to be like, that's a big statement to say, because as a lot of people know, DLSS 4 and previous versions of DLSS was basically a way to give users who have like decent rigs a way to play games at higher resolutions, say like 4K resolution, but with maxed out graphics. But you won't be able to, usually when you have high graphics like that, high resolutions, you won't be able to hit higher frames. DLSS, like previous versions of DLSS, usually allows you to do that. And it seems like with DLSS 5, it's kind of going in a little bit of a different direction in terms of trying to use AI as well as a way of giving the game more visual clarity. And as many people have seen from, like, some of the examples, like here we have Resident Evil Requiem, and the way that it's using like AI to basically change the visual, like it's messing with the visual clarity of the game and the art style. And I think that's the biggest issue that a lot of people are having with this technology, is how it's basically changing the art direction of what is being shown from the original game. A lot of people have issues with it.
yeah. So to add more, and so before I start, everybody knows what DLSS is. It's deep learning,
Deep learning, super
simple
sampling.
sampling. For people that honestly don't know, and the whole point of it. Now, back in the day, the video releases back in 2018. Normally, again, like you said, for everything that Michael said, was also to help with bigger rigs, but also was also used to help people with lesser powerful GPUs to basically help scale up a little bit more better fidelity, or even a little bit more smoothness to compensate for a lot of frame rate in a lot of games back in the day. And right now, this is honestly their next interesting big leap in terms of technology. And based on this reveal, it has not gotten
It hasn't been a positive reception. The
not positive
reception
at all
has been just
with
not been positive.
with
I'm
the
pretty.
introduction of it.
In fact, let me just watch this on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it has a massive. Yep. There we go. Like 15K like upvotes to 77K downvotes. And again, I'm not even gonna bother looking at the comments, because I know they are tearing. The comment section is probably
As
tearing them
of
a new
recording,
one. Yeah, it's tearing them a new one, and yeah, and it's then the dislike ratio is probably going to just go up higher and higher and higher. And again, I understand why people are upset, because again, this new technology is ultimately messing with the art direction of the game, and it's trying to basically force like realism on the facial models especially. And again, that really takes you out of the experience. Like that, I don't want to look at something that looks like real life. I want to actually be immersed in the fact that this is still a fictional world and a fictional game setting. And all this DLSS 5 does is basically try to force realism, unnecessary amount of realism.
well, I'll push back on that because it really depends on the game that
Mm-hmm.
DLSS 5 is going to be honestly used for. Now, again, a lot of the games they actually showed, they didn't show RE4, but I think the biggest one was
Starfield.
Starfield. Starfield was honestly the biggest one that got mentioned. That actually kind of really showed some of the best fidelity too. If you actually go down on the website, I think they should show some of the Stargate. Yeah, this was the biggest one that that honestly caught my attention in terms of how this tool is going to be on use to help upskill some of the graphics. Now, the whole point of it was to do better job in focusing on better light and certain features on the face as well as being able to bring up the fidelity and the graphics and different textures on certain moments in the game. Which again, depending on the game, this might be able to be used. And to be fair to Nvidia at the moment, too, they when they showed this demonstration, it's still work in progress right now. Which they keep on saying that there are actually that the artists and the developers will have the ability to use this AI tool to be able to learn and adjust based on their work to make sure that every time that you do sit down and play the game that it's it's learning from their work and progress. It's not going online to take other um, bits of information and then they end up throwing some kind of
Yeah, it's
terrible
not like,
face mask on it.
yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Like I know how most other artificial intelligence will just take different faces and then kind of throw on a mask and stuff like that. Um, but even with the demonstrations just show a lot of the gamers right there, a lot of the audience that see it just sees it as almost no different than an Instagram filter where you're just kind of slop and some kind of filter over the characters, and pretty much it isn't really kind of pushing any kind of fidelity whatsoever. It's not really anything brand new at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that sentiment. Is again, the way I see it, as long as it's not a forced thing, like a forced filter for like every single game, as long as there's a way to just like, play as is, then yeah, I think it's fine. Personally speaking, I do think that a lot of people are kind of just like overreacting to this, saying that, oh, gaming is ruined, more AI slop for a game. And it's like, and I ask, like, is this being forced onto like the games that you're playing? Is like, and I don't think that's the case. I think this is going to be like an option for people who want this kind of like visual fidelity. Again, personally, I wouldn't use it because I think for some of these games, I think this kind of like tech messes with the art style. Again, like Resident Evil Requiem, I think was the kind of the biggest example where it's like it's trying to push this pseudo realism, and I think that kind of messes with the game's atmosphere a little bit. But again, if it's just an optional thing, I think that's fine. Again, one big issue that I think is just going. This is just another case of developers abusing this technology and just kind of being lazy with it, thinking that this is gonna make their games like so much more better, and like,
Mm.
just what, and you don't really need to use this kind of thing. Like, as long as your game has a strong art style in general, it's all you really need. You don't need to start putting filters on everything to make it look good. And I feel like what you were gonna say?
No, no, continue,
No,
continue
I
to
mean,
push.
actually, that's kind of more or less what I feel like saying. So,
Again, it really depends on the game that you're doing, and I think there was a reason why Nvidia used these games as a part of any other game with a completely different art style. Again, they want to try to do more though because a lot of these games do feel a lot of are photorealistic. I mean, they like again, even though with you could still have art direction and still go for photorealism. We keep on bringing up GTA 6 being right around the corner. This is supposed to be around the same time that they will launch the DLSS 5 to developers and to gamers
hmm
when they update this program. So again, who knows? You may not enjoy this for maybe certain games, but to the person that's going to buy Grand Theft Auto 6 in a couple of months right now, for a game that has been doing nothing but trying to push for photorealism and physics that go along with it, to have that as a tool to be added to a game like that, to have that one on one, I think it's going, you know, gamer, a couple of gamers might feel pretty impressed by that, depending on their experience. Again, it goes to understanding the experiences they want for gamers at the moment. at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the situation.
And of course, there's again the other big issue of just generative AI in general, just pissing off the masses because again, it's getting to the point where people are just sick of hearing the word AI and anything. The moment they hear the word AI, they immediately have a knee-jerk reaction and say no. And no matter what you explain to them, they're just saying like, no, screw AI slop. Putting AI slop is in my game is stupid. I don't want AI in this. I don't want that. You do this kind of thing. It means you hate hardworking artists and developers, and you hate like the environment because of all the AI data centers using water, and you probably support Hitler or something stupid like that. It's ridiculous because again, I've said this many times, and I'm gonna say it again. I think AI is good as a tool. I don't think that AI should be a replacement for human effort. But it's now starting to get to the point where you have people in these multi-billion-dollar corporations shoving this in our face over and over and over again to the point where it's just like people just want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating and like and it's not even benefiting the customer or the consumer or anything like that. It sucks because like it's just I want this technology to be put into the right hands, but right now it's in all the wrong hands, and it's being used in the name of laziness, corner cutting, and just flat out greed. It sucks.
And it's terrible too, because I was talking to a friend, and honestly, AI really should be in the compartment seat right now.
Mhm.
It really should be in the passenger seat, and it should be insisted with you. Unfortunately, a lot of these companies have put AI firmly in the driver's seat and us in the back seat, where we have to try to clean up every AI's mess that it makes. Again, the program is just doing what it's being told. It just understands zeros and ones and some rationality, and it has to make the best logical choices that it's sitting down and making. And then for us, the human person is supposed to guide that in hopes of steering it to make the
correct
not
decision.
even the correct decision, the decision that we want.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even about the correct decision right now. So if these companies were better at presenting artificial intelligence to people like we've always been talking about, I think people would have been excited for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I think it is an interesting step to, if you want more realism in your games, this is the next step. And again, based on what I'm seeing, it's not that super far-fetched. Like people worrying about games looking way too real. I'm not really seeing that right now. If anything, it just seems like I think what it'll end up doing is it'll add, better textures, better skin textures on a certain object, but it's not going to take you away from the video game experience at the end of the day. Again, these demos and examples that they're showing to isn't really finite. And again, there's probably going to still work on it, so it's probably going to have better adjustments. But like I said, going back to when it was introduced back in 2018, people laughed at it. Now we're 25 years into the game industry, and now it's almost a standard. Like people have been using it as a standard for, especially like you said, for PC enthusiasts that really want to push their gamers to the limit. They're using that right now at the moment.
Yeah, and I totally get that, but here's the thing: the issue with DLSS as it's being used today is people are using it as a band-aid for what should be the baseline like performance or experience that one should be getting for playing the game. Like I remember when Monster Hunter Wilds came out and how poor the performance for that game was. And I remember having to, my computer was struggling to get the game
Basic frame rates
to get 60 FPS. and having to turn on DLSS just to get it to 60 FPS was awful, because again, you're generating fake frames at that point. It would, like, the lower your base your frame rate is, DLSS tries to make up those
Within the
frames
gaps of
within
frame
gaps
rates.
with those caps, but you're generating fake frames, and you're gonna feel it in the gameplay, because like your reaction time, things feel a little bit sluggish and not quite right. That's all because of the fake frames that the game are giving through you using DLSS, which really sucks. And it shouldn't be like that. DLSS should basically be for enthusiasts who want to play this game at max settings, like 4K resolution, 60 FPS, for people who have the beefiest like rigs out there. That's basically what DLSS is for. For the baseline, like, everyone else should not have to activate that stuff. It's just like developers have been using it as a band-aid fix. I genuinely don't like that. It really shouldn't be that, because you can't use this as a way of foregoing optimization. Like, optimization is such a lost art when it comes to game development at this point.
Agreed.
That it's insanely rare when you see a game that's very, very optimized. Like, I know how everybody always complains about how unoptimized Unreal Engine 5 is, yet the entire gaming industry, especially in the West, is in bed with Unreal Engine right now.
Yeah.
And it really sucks when you see that Unreal Engine 5 logo, you know what you're in for, and it shouldn't be that way. To the point when you have games like,
it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that.
It used to be like that.
And I don't think Unreal is a terrible tool for everybody to sit down and use.
It's not terrible, but it's not great either. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Because
then if the case, then every company should be focusing on making their own engines. If that's honestly the case, the reason why they sit down and go and use it, because it's the quickest. It's quick. It's easier to understand, and it's easier to get a product out as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I hate that the industry is, again, just becoming so, like,
I get it, filtered
and monopolized, where people are just using like the same engine. It's just like, it's either Unreal Engine 5 or Unity. It's like you don't hear any other engines anymore. It sucks, to the point where, like, you hear games like Crimson Desert, which is using its own like engine, own developed engine that's developed for high resolutions and big environments and stuff like that. And from what I heard, it's crazy optimized, insanely well optimized, to the point where maxing the game out on full settings and high resolutions, yet it only uses less than 8 gigabytes of VRAM. People said that was absolutely insane when they heard that. They basically said that your toaster will be able to run this game on high settings. That's how well optimized the game is, apparently.
And then when you do DLSS, it hopefully enhances that experience.
So to give you even higher frames for people who like having their frame rates at 120 or 145 or 160. Yeah, you can hit those high frames
if you want to,
when you have DLSS on.
But again, it kind of always proves that we can't see past 60 frames anyway.
We absolutely can. We absolutely can.
What's the highest we can see?
Well, I don't know what's the highest you can see. I just know there's a difference between 100 when I switch on 120, because things are smoother. I can react to things better. Even if you don't notice it, you feel it when you have those higher frame rates.
But again, that's like what your argument is. It's more really towards this users, for the regular person that just wants to play a game.
Obviously,
that doesn't
60 is
nobody cares.
Yeah, for 60, obviously should be the bare minimum for most games. Yeah. It just sucks. Because again, my whole point is that a lot of developers out there are just using DLSS to cut corners, and we should not be foregoing optimization.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that optimization first should be the forefront again. And I think certain game companies will put optimization first before tackling DLSS. But you're right, there are going to be companies that will just simply not do that first, and then hopefully just throw in this as a filter and pretty much call it a day,
Yeah,
while the
I
rest of the
don't like
game
that, man.
suffers from poor optimization. That is honestly a situation. Again, I think people would would been cool to eat this up again if it wasn't these companies that really poorly mismanaged this and tried to force it into everybody's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
it's
just
taking the job and hurting the job market
it
because of it. The
is
entire economy is being hurt with this entire
AI
artificial
stuff. Yeah,
stuff.
it sucks, and and again, it also goes back to just one more point I wanted to make is just that people saying that AI, any use of AI is unethical. There's no moral correct way to use AI. If you use AI at any given point, you're a bad person. You're an unethical person. You're an immoral person. And I'm like,
That's not true.
that's not true. Yeah, it's absolutely not
Clearly
true.
not
And here's
true.
one example that I want to bring up.
And
No,
over exaggerated.
yeah, okay. Well, listen, like now there's one little example I really wanted to bring up before I end this. Now there's a little known game that I used to love playing when I was a kid, a little known game called Little Fighter 2. Do you remember Little Fighter 2,
I don't think
Isaac?
anybody cares.
I remember Little
Not
Fighter
everybody
2.
cares. I don't think
No,
anybody's even heard of the game.
there's a dedicated community
Oh,
for
really?
that game. It's just
I
it's
haven't
a
played it in
really
a minute.
hardcore community. Again, that's why I wanted to bring that up because
Oh,
the
They joined
creator
they
of
joined
Little
artificial
the little
intelligence?
creator of Little Fighter 2 created a remaster of Little Fighter 2. And it looks absolutely great. It basically looks like what I thought the game looked like in my head when I was a little kid. But now it has like improved visuals, but it still retains like the look, the feel, the art direction of the original game. And I absolutely love that. However, when the game was developed, he specifically mentions that he actually used AI when developing the game. However, he was very, very specific on how he used AI. In fact, he has a little mention in disclosure here saying that AI was used to create in the creation of visual assets, including avatar, artwork, certain artwork like the title promotion materials and stuff like. However, these assets were still required a substantial amount of manual work, such as design, sketching, outlining, polishing. The AI was basically used as a tool for coloring and enhancement, and the person who created the game still did the art direction. Like some people assume that AI was used. If AI was used for the artwork, then it must have been applied throughout the whole project, and that's far from the truth. To be clear, there was over 3,000 hand-drawn sprites in the game that he did on his own, and a lot of hand-drawn like body parts. Basically, only 10% of the images in this game were AI assisted. He says, like, I understand like people have concerns of AI in the creative process, but I hope people see a broader context and appreciation for the amount of manual effort that went into making a game. Please know I'm a sole developer with a limited budget, and I've been working on this game for 3.5 years, even quitting my full-time job just to work on this project full-time without even expecting to cover half of my previous salary. I've done my best to balance quality and practicality, and thank you for your understanding. I think this is the most like reasonable way that generative AI should be used.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the argument we were making for the smaller developers should have. But again, going back to what I said, you can also make the same argument for for AAA companies to use it. Like it's open for anybody to use it
Mm-hmm.
the way that they see fit. Now, like you said, if you want to get to a point where just like what he did, where is going to sit down and list how artificial intelligence is going to be used. Like we also have to put uh, the the contents on a food wrapper. If that's what we have to do, just kind of just let people know that here's the dossier of where artificial intelligence was being used in certain parts of the game. process, okay, maybe we go at it. Like maybe here, this is where I can sense maybe some artificial intelligence is probably used in order to learn it. But at the end of the day, if it's your AI model that you are teaching it, it's learning. It's
Mm-hmm.
again, it's still learning from you.
Exactly.
At
You're
the end
not
of the day,
stealing anyone's work. Like people can use AI to create their own models and off their work and use that into their
yeah,
workflow.
because this feels very artificial intelligence, though. But it's his designs
It's his
being fed
designs.
into the AI machine for itself to help cut down time and cut down process. Again, it doesn't change anything, and you can still go and clean everything up. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I get it for some developers right there who use artificial intelligence and in terms of programming. That's a pain in the ass for a lot of them because
Mm-hmm.
I know I've talked to a couple.
Yeah.
I talked to a friend that is being put in that position, and it's a mess. Like you have to
Yeah.
go and try to clean up
A
art,
lot of crap
a
went
lot of
from
bad, um, a lot of not understandable code, and
yeah.
tried to make sense of that in a short period of time. And that's kind of the issue where a lot of people are having the fact that they have to sit there and play babysitter and try to clean up more work than they really need to
Mm-hmm.
if they had just simply have done it themselves and AI just came in the system along the way. Again,
Mm-hmm.
allowing AI to do everything and then trying to
Yeah,
figure out their
never,
mess is the biggest problem right
never,
now at
yeah,
at a lot of these companies at this point.
yeah,
And now,
never let the AI be the driver. Like you never trust it to do anything perfectly. As soon
never,
you have to treat the AI like it's a child, like it's an idiot or a child who doesn't know what it's doing. You have to lead its hand through every step of the way.
which is a problem. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the problem that a lot of people are having with it
But they're
at the moment.
thinking that it's actually like sentient AI that can actually think for itself, but it can't. It's
Yeah.
like that's what people are thinking that the AI is, but it really isn't like that. Like, but anyway, that's basically the long and short of it for me. Like I had, I guess, a little bit of a rant, but
No, again, I'm not gonna go hating on it like everybody else is in terms of technology space, but I understand where everybody's coming from because of
I
just all
do.
the outrage that's been happening, and rightfully so. Because again, a lot of these greedy companies are not using it correctly the way that it should have been used. It wasn't introduced to the public better to a better understanding of how it's being used. It just kind of swept everybody in with everybody at the moment, though. But again, s- like we keep on saying, it's simply just a tool. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a tool. Everybody has the right to use it the way they want to see fit, and in order to do that, in order to be able to get projects out quicker and faster. And I think that's important for everybody. I think people want to see less game times to happen. Like again, I don't think we want to wait for another Grand Theft Auto
Six,
game
another Grand Theft Auto
for a
6. Yeah.
decade. You know, you would hope with these technologies and better improvements that it starts to cut
Development time down.
so much
Yeah.
faster.
But it
But in the
feels
same
like
time, it still needs to be balanced with the human touch and the economics about it, which is the biggest issue right now going forward. And
mm-hmm.
how does everybody sit down and fit within this? How can we all walk alongside this?
Yes.
You know,
It's like we should be working hand in hand with the AI, not having the AI try to dictate every little thing. Because again, it just leads to just
and again, I don't blame the artificial intelligence. I blame the people. I've always blamed it on people. I always
mm-hmm.
blamed it on very greedy people
Mm-hmm.
that forgot about the human element in all of this because
Yes.
artificial can't do anything without us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's just like it's ultimately it should be an extension of humanity. Instead, people are trying to use the AI to replace humanity, and that's just not going to work.
I agree.
Anyway, that's basically our thoughts on this whole DLSS 5 nonsense. What do you think? Do you think that this DLSS 5 stuff is the future? Do you just think it's more AI slop? Let us know. And if you like what we do here, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mike with Isaac, and we are saying peace.